Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary for Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, Huey Cadet, and the Assistant Secretary for Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment, Hayden Spencer, addressed the media.
I want to report that the Republic Day Regatta 2016 was very successful, and I want to publicly thank the employees of the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries for their hard work to make this event a success. I also want to thank the Tobago Emergency Management Authority, TEMA, the Tobago Emergency Medical Services, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, and the lifeguards. This event is the 8th consecutive year we've been having this event. We will have 15 boats participating in that event. The event was incident-free. So I want to commend everybody, all the individuals, the people of Roxborough and environs. Everyone would have played their part in making the event a success. I also want to report in the area of training, safety at sea. We would have completed a series of training engaging the fisherfolk of Tobago in the area of flare training, where on this we would have at Milford Bay, we would have had in attendance 22 fisherfolk. We would have trained and distributed 66 flares. Also at Corland Bay, we would have had 10 fisherfolk in attendance. We would have distributed also 30 flares. At Castara, we would have had 24 fisherfolk involved. We would have distributed 72 flares. At Palatavere, we would have had 23 fisherfolk involved. We would have distributed 69 flares. At Belgarden, we would have had 7 and 27 flares distributed. We move to another area where we would have also continued training in the area of fish handling and fish processing. We would have completed 2 series of training program, one at the Argyle Community Center and one at the Pigeon Point Fish Facility. These training programs were for all the fisher folks in this region. It would have been fully attended by the fisher folk. One of the 2 areas of training was safety and sanitary measures on fishing vessels, safety and sanitary measures at the fish facilities. Also, we want to thank the Division of Health for coming on board and assisting the vendors and the fisher folks in acquiring their food badges and the vending badges and so on. We want to thank them. We have more program plans to come on stream in the area of Charlottesville, Castara, and Lambo. And I know you all would have been waiting patiently to hear about the Castara fishing facility. I'm pleased to announce that our project manager, MTS, and the contractor, Cummings and Associates, they would have settled their differences. The EMA would have been involved, and all the specifications were met. So the contractor began mobilizing from on the 10th, which was on Monday, and we are looking at a startup within 2 weeks. It is our hope and intention that this facility be completed in the shortest possible time. However, the contractor would have given us the assurance that he will do an on-site evaluation and then he will give us a completion date timeline.
The first update I want to give is in relation to the installation of upgrades of CCTV cameras in primary and secondary schools. Installation at all 9 of our secondary schools have begun to the value of $700,000. The expected completion date is December 2nd. Work has begun at 9 of our primary schools. The first phase, this work is scheduled to begin on October 17th, Monday, October 17th. The value of the works at this first phase at these 9 primary schools is $500,000. The 9 primary schools involved in the first phase: Scarborough Methodist, Wim Anglican, School for the Deaf and Hearing Impaired, Mason Hall Government, Table Peace Government, Montgomery Government, Signal Hill Government, St. Andrews Anglican, and Bon Accord Government. Just to provide an update on the school expansion program, the division, in conjunction with UDCOT, is in the process of expanding providing additional space at 5 primary schools. They are Lambo Anglican, Signal Hill Government Primary, Wim Anglican, Patience Hill Government Primary. The duration of this project is 3 months, and the total cost is expected to be $19 million. The work is expected to begin on November 4th, with the exception of Lambo AC, where we're still in the process of identifying the exact site at which the expansion will take place, whether on a property located adjacent or if right on this existing school property. But at the other 4 locations, Signal Hill Government, Wim Anglican, Hope Anglican, and Patience Hill Government, work will commence on November 4th. The duration of the project is expected to be 3 months. The basic structure that is going to be installed involves a 2-story building that will provide additional classroom space for staff, facilities for programs run by the various schools. At each of the schools, the exact design, specific designs differ, but basically they are all 2-story building. It is expected that there will be limited impact on school operations at the 4 that begins on November 4th because of the size of the property and the locations where the this additional building will go. I also want to announce let me just provide some more information in regards to the school expansion. Of course, we have been constantly in dialogue with both the management of the schools and the PTAs to keep them abreast of the timelines involved, the scope of the works, and ensure that they are comfortable not only with the time that the works are going to take, but also with the designs that we intend to have completed at the varying schools. In terms of sport and education, I'd want to announce that secondary schools netball tournament for 2016 began last Friday. We have participating in this year's competition at the secondary school levels. There's 2 teams from Bishop's High School. We have 1 team from Pentecostal Light and Life. We have 2 teams from Scarborough Secondary School, 2 teams from Speyside High School, and along with teams from Roxborough Secondary, Goodwood High School, and Mason Hall Secondary. The primary school football season also commenced on Monday, 19 September at the Bon Accord Recreation Ground, and we had with the Godrek Alfred tournament. We had 31 teams competing in this tournament that begins the start of the season. 8 girls team, or female teams, and 23 male teams. The winner of the girls was Bon Accord Government, with Patience Hill Government taking the boys title. In terms of the primary school football league, which has begun, the defending champions at the under 15 level is Bon Accord Government in terms of boys and girls, and I think Scarborough RC in terms of the under 13 boys. This year we see a total of 47 teams will be playing in the competition. In the under 12 category we have 18 boys team. In the under 15 boys category we have 19 teams, and in the girls category we have 10 teams competing. As October is known as not only Breast Cancer Month, but it's also Teachers Month. And as part of the activities that will be held during the course of this month of teachers, I just want to provide some information on that. Firstly, On Friday 14th, Tutor will be having its a convention which starts at 8:30 a.m. at the Nutrition building in Canaan. The theme for this year's convention is the role of the teacher in professional development, and the featured speaker will be Dr. Freddie James. As a result of this Teacher Professional Day and workshop, all schools will be closed on Friday 14th October. On October 22nd, the division will host its annual Teacher Appreciation and Retirement Function at the Signal Hill Senior Comprehensive School. We continue with our professional development starting on October 17th, where we will have training for both school administrators and senior teachers. This training will focus on disciplinary matters, crisis management, school-based management. It will also then culminate with a conference, the Principals Conference in November, with the aim of enhancing school effectiveness. I'd also want to provide some information on an Elite Athletes School Engagement Tour. And this tour features Seymour Hackett and Paralympian Akeem Stewart, who we have going around to our schools with an opportunity to motivate and interact with our primary school students, to remind them, of course, of the values that can come from sport, but more importantly, to allow them the opportunity to recognize that from any community here in Tobago, we can have athletes who can go off to the Olympics and the Paralympics and succeed at the highest level. The schools already visited included Lambo Anglican, Patience Hill Government, St. Andrews Anglican, Table Place Government, Signal Hill Government, and the Happy Haven School. The tour will continue until October 14th. In terms of the Department of Sport, the Lalonde Gordon Fund Committee will be holding a stakeholder session with sporting bodies and organizations on the 14th of October at the Scarborough Library Auditorium from 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. The objective of the session include how funding is to be utilized by the athletes, increasing access to the funds, and the criteria for accessing funds. Just a bit of history. The Tobago House of Assembly would have established the Lalonde Gordon Fund in 2012. As part of it, of course, its tribute to Lalonde Gordon. The concept behind the fund is to provide matching funding both from the private sector and the Tobago House of Assembly to assist both athletes and administrators and coaches in improving how they perform or how they administrate or how they coach. So as part of, after 4 years, of course, the fund has impacted on a number of our athletes and administrators, but we felt it necessary to now go out on to begin a process of sensitizing the wider Tobago public about the existence of the fund, how you can access the fund, what is the criteria for accessing the fund, what the funds can be utilized for. So this workshop or stakeholder session takes place on October 14th, 2016 at the Scarborough Library Auditorium. In terms of library services, I'd want to indicate that in honor of the 5th International Day of the Girl Child, which is celebrated on October 11th, the Scarborough Library will be hosting a workshop for female secondary school students to grow and enhance their entrepreneurial spirit on October 18th from 10 a.m. to noon. The International Day of the Girl Child focuses attention on the need to address the challenges girls face and to promote girls' empowerment and the fulfillment of their human rights. The theme for this year is Girls Progress equal Goals Progress. What counts for girls? Additionally, on November 19th, the world will celebrate the 9th Annual International Games Day. And in commemoration of that, the Scarborough Library will be having a mix of both educational and fun games at our various libraries.
In regards to the shortage of teachers in Tobago, what is the division doing to rectify this problem?
All right. Well, and I presume speaking at the secondary school level and at the early childhood. In terms of, we had some vacancies at 2 of our early childhood centers. They have been, that has been addressed. The persons begun work at those 2 centers, Speyside and Buku, on Monday. At our secondary schools, we have been, since the term began, filling those vacancies or attempting to fill vacancies as we can. There are some subject areas, that we still have some challenges, in particular music and physics. And what we have, the strategies we have undertaken at this point in time is varied. One, we have asked and we have engaged some individuals on a sessional basis to provide, so they come in and teach the varying subjects, and they pay whether by the hour or what have you, hourly rate. We have also, for those schools that are in close proximity, we have also undertaken some sharing of teachers in terms of Speyside and Roxborough, and with sharing of those teachers in terms of mechanical MET, and in terms of Scarborough and Scarborough Secondary and Signal Hill, there have also been some sharing of teachers and in allowing, therefore, to allow those subjects and those students in those subjects are not to be disadvantaged. Those are the strategies we are employing at this point in time until we can find suitable candidates in those subject areas that are in short supply. As I said, in particular, music, physics, and one or two other areas. So those are the strategies we are having at this point in time.
I know recently the teachers and the staff at the Mason Hall Government Primary School would have raised certain challenges with a school child with behavioral issues. Have the Division of Education dealt with this? And in going forward, what does the Division of Education plan to do with children who has behavioral issues?
All right, well, let me begin with the Mason Hall situation. The situation at Mason Hall is an ongoing one, and and it's a sensitive one in terms of because the Children's Authority is involved, the Child Protection Unit is involved. What the division has been doing for the last couple months, we have been working with all of those stakeholders and the management of the school and the family in question to try to find strategies to address the issues that affect the child, the issues that affect the family, and of course to ensure that the child can function adequately within the school environment. At this point in time, we recognize that there's need for some further intervention on the part of a number of stakeholders, and we are working on that. At this point in time, unfortunately, the child is not at school, but we have advised, I've instructed school supervision and student support to ensure that the necessary steps are taken to ensure that the academic support is provided in the meantime until such time that the child can go back to school. But it is a very sensitive matter. As I said, it involves the Child Protection Unit, the police in general, the Children's Authority, but we are working on it. I think what may have caused the concern previously is that there may have been a little step in the communication in providing updates to the wider school population or the wider staff body. We would have been sure that meetings were held with the principal to provide updates, but I think as I indicated to student support and school supervision, because sometimes of the nature of the issue, there's a need very often to involve the wider staff in the process. In terms of what are we doing about children nowadays? I mean, depending on what perspective of sociology or study, whether it's Marxism or functionalism, some people suggest that institutions like the family, education, the church, the workplace, and the wider environment is who helps to ensure that all of us are prepared to function adequately within society. So in saying that, we recognize that obviously when children come to the school, they're not going to be perfect, and therefore they are going to be, and the whole involvement and the whole process about education and the whole part about educating each other, that process of moving from different levels of school is to ensure that they understand the values and the norms. And so it's not only about getting them prepared for CSEC or SCA, but it's also imbuing them those values and those norms that will help them to function in society and understand societal norms and order. So what we have done over the years is that's why we have strengthened student support to provide in where you have those children who come to present themselves in the school environment and have particular patterns of behavior that may be deemed antisocial or may prevent them from learning as they should. That is where student support comes in, and over the years we have strengthened the amount of guidance counselors, the schools. We have brought on board school psychiatrists, school social workers. We have educational psychologists on board at the division. We recently interviewed from some more school social workers so that we have more, I think, and both at the primary and the secondary level. We also work in tandem with other providers, whether social services, private organizations, the TRHAs, adolescent clinic, where we refer where the capacity does not exist or the expertise does not exist within the division, where we'll then refer these kids who exhibit, as I said, antisocial, what might be deemed antisocial behavior, or whose behavior patterns may impact on their learning. We very often also refer them to those other agencies. So that I think to suggest that there's some line we can draw in the sand to suggest that there will be a point where there will be no children, all children will be perfect and operating good. It might be difficult to suggest. We have a responsibility as a division and as education system to ensure all of the things are put in place so that our children can grow and learn as they move from early childhood to primary onto secondary school.
Well, I have noticed that there have been many of the boats owned by the division, should I say, in a boat graveyard in Buku. Recently, there was also a vessel used in Speyside by your division to access Little Tobago and all of that. It is currently down. Can you tell us how many of these vessels owned by your divisions are at Buku, if they would be repaired, and what is the cost, especially the one at Speyside? I'm told that it is being repaired and maybe in Trinidad somewhere, but no vessel to access Little Tobago. So can you give us an update on that, please?
All right, let me start with the vessel at Little Tobago. The vessel at Little Tobago, at Speyside, that runs the Little Tobago, is not really under my purview. That vessel is under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, where the besides taking people across there, the what do you call them, the forest rangers, and they utilize that services. So I don't have that information on hand. However, for those at Buku, what we would have done, we have two major vessels there. We would have sent one to Trinidad, and that would have been repaired and is back in Tobago, and that's the one that is working. There's the other one that is on standby, waiting to go to Trinidad to be repaired, to be outfitted with certain requirements that the boat did not have to meet the OSH standards for the employees. All right? So, for example, the boats are not air-conditioned and that kind of stuff. So when they go to Trinidad, they come back outfitted with that kind of thing and more accommodatable for the employees, for the reef patrol officers. All right? What you are seeing in the back there is a number of fishermen. Vessels went down and they came to the division to ask for a space. So all the vessels that you're seeing at Buku does not belong to the department. Some belongs to private fishermen. Okay? And they are just being assisted because of the safety of the compound by having them there. Okay, so all the vessels there does not belong to the department, but those that belong to the department will be repaired. That's the Reef Runner 1, Reef Runner 2. Yes, those will be repaired.
So from your understanding, how many vessels belonging to the THA is at Buku?
From my understanding, 3.
Okay. And I know you said that you're saying that the vessel in Speyside, it has been repaired?
The one in Speyside, I'm not. I have no control over that. So I'm not sure what the situation is with that.
Would you
but I'm speaking about those that are under my purview.
Those under your purview,
at Buku.
What can you give us the cost of the repairs?
I think in the first instance, one of the vessels would have cost $25,000. It's just minor things to make the vessels more accommodatable. For example, the boats, they are made of aluminum, and out in the sun out there, the aluminums will get hot. So, for example, is to make seating accommodation. In the vessel, they came with fan, so it's to put in an AC, So these are not big expenditure, $25,000.
Recently, there was an invasion of mosquitoes in one of our schools, and as a result, teachers and students did not attend. I understand the place has since been sprayed. Speaking to you earlier, you said that you were going to look into what caused the invasion of the mosquitoes. Could you tell us what has been done so far to find out what caused it?
All right, we're still not clear on what would have caused this influx or invasion of mosquitoes. But we have addressed this, but to determine what was the cause, that information that still has not is still not clear. But we have ensured that the issue has been addressed, both in terms of the staff, the school management and their internal, and MTS and their internal arrangements, and then we also provided some additional support to treat with the issue. But we still have not gotten clear exactly what might have caused what would have caused the invasion.
Have you invited the health inspectors to have a look around the premises?
Yes, we did. Public health was invited to give some assistance, but as yet we still have determined what may have caused it. So we await that information, but it's still not clear on what would have caused the invasion or the influx. But as I said, the matter has been addressed, and we have asked that MTS and the school monitor the situation in terms of ensuring that the environment is clean as it relates to Aedes aegypti, and the housekeeping is in order as it relates to the more urban indoor mosquito, which is the Zika mosquito, which is indoor mosquito.
Did you give a timeline to the health division?
Well, no. There's a discussion that's taking place at the operational level between school supervision and the school management. I was not directly involved in saying yes, they need to get it done by this time. But it has been addressed in terms of the program, and in terms of ongoing, that has at an operational level. I was not involved in giving a deadline that has to be done by that time.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending October 15th, 2016.